Welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. This is the Art of Creative Practice, where we talk about mind, well-being, productivity, and change for thinkers, makers, and everyone in between. And I am Dr. Alan Johnson. Today, I want to talk a little bit about one of the major hurdles that I see from the coaching clients that I work with. When people come to me and aren't able to get their ideas across the line. When they have the idea for the novel, they have the idea for the painting or the new form that they want to work in, and they aren't able to see it to fruition. Now, what I've found is that most people's ideas and inspirations aren't left unfinished because they don't have enough discipline or because they lack motivation. Those are the surface explanations. Those are the easy explanations we can reach for when it comes to explaining why we aren't getting our creative projects finished. And the problem with those explanations is that we begin to develop a whole bunch of shame around them. It's no longer the case that we have an idea that we have not finished. Suddenly we define ourselves as someone who lacks motivation, as someone who lacks drive, as someone who isn't able to complete a project they set their mind to. Today, I want to talk more about how we get over this problem. And if you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe because there is more content like this on this channel. And the links that I will pop below as well will take you through to our free weekly creative co-working session. Opportunities for creatives from all backgrounds and all disciplines to get together and to make some real progress toward their own goals. When we encounter a creative idea that doesn't see fruition, there's absolutely always going to be a moment in the creative process when our relationship to that idea begins to change, when it begins to shift from something that is just early and exploratory to something that becomes meaningful. And this is the riskiest part of any creative process, because this is the point in the creative process when we are most likely to give up. So why then, as creatives, do we begin to give up at that early stage in the process? Well, up until that point, you have been inside the idea, or maybe the idea has been inside you. You are following the idea that has come to you in a flash of inspiration. You are expanding upon it. You find a whole bunch of joy and pleasure in those early ideation phases of a project. You're not really asking at that early stage whether it is good. You are still opening yourself up to the question of what happens next. And then, almost without realizing it, you begin looking at the project as an outsider. You begin to read back what you have written. You begin to imagine the responses that you will get from readers or audiences or critics, and you start to sense the gap between where you are now and where you want to be in the project. This is the single most important point in any creative project, because this is where we can too easily give up. If we give up there, if we give up at the point in which our project begins to feel risky, the point at which our project begins to feel real, we just explain it away as, oh, I don't have enough time, or that's not at the top of my priorities, or I'll never publish a novel, or I was never meant to be a painter. Those are just excuses. Those sound big and grand and important, but they are just bad explanations for something that we failed to do. And the thing that we failed to do was to stay with the project after it started feeling risky. Because when that point emerges, a number of different things can happen. You might begin to feel like you've lost the idea. Once you've looked at the reality of where you are now and that dream of where you want to be with it, you might think, I can't really do this. I no longer have the inspiration. You might think that it's not as strong as it was, or you might say you don't have the right mindset to carry on with it. But none of that is true. The only thing that has changed at that point is your relationship to the work. The quality of the work that you have already produced has not changed. That has been saved in your computer hard drive, or that has been on your painting easel untouched. The only thing that has changed is your relationship to those ideas. And when we come into a different relationship to our ideas, potential begins to open up for us. That moment that we begin to see the reality of our work demands of us a choice. We have the choice to either leave that project behind and begin something new, or to continue to bring that project into form. By choosing to not finish the project, we avoid remaining in relationship with the project and with our ideas. And for many creatives, that feels safer, that feels more comfortable. We can push it aside and we can explain it away as, we don't have enough motivation or we don't have enough time. Because entering into a new relationship is always an unsettling moment. It's true whether that is with a person or it is with our own creative project. The other choice that we have when our relationship to the project begins to deepen and expand is to allow that relationship to unfold. If you look at enough of your unfinished projects, you're going to see the same pattern emerging. You begin with that really strong start. All of those words, all of those lines, all of those drafts, all of those plans. There is that shining moment of promise that keeps you going. And then as you reflect back on what happens next, you probably notice that there was a shift in attention where something began to feel different. And then bit by bit, maybe slowly or maybe quite quickly, you moved away from that project. Now that's the riskiest thing that we can do there, because we will have lost all of that thinking, all of that planning, and all of those early drafts that we have already done. So what we need to do there instead is ask a different question. We've probably been subconsciously asking the question of, is this good? And we say, no, it's not good. So we give up and we move on to something else. The question we need to be asking instead is, what comes next? The way that we show up for any relationship in our lives is through continual acts of showing up and caring. And that's what we need to do with our creative work as well. When it begins to feel real, when we begin to get over that early honeymoon phase of a new project, and we begin to see that difference between where we are now and where we want that project to be, it might feel safer and more comfortable to us to just leave it behind, because we jump ahead. We think about, what that is ultimately going to look like in a month or 3 months or 6 months or 2 years. We don't need to think of that final outcome yet. Instead, we just need to be thinking of what the next step is. What words do we write next? What ideas do we continue to pursue? What additional inspiration, skill, or technique do we need to cultivate in order to meet that work at the place that it needs us to meet it? What happens when we ask that different question, when we go from asking, is this good, to asking, what do I do next, is suddenly we get out of that mindset of, I'm not motivated, I'm not a good creative, I don't have enough time or passion to see this through. Because do you know what? There is no novel, no landscape painting, no new composition that has been done in one day. The really important work of creativity takes days, weeks, months, and sometimes years to come to fruition. We don't need to rush to that final stage. Instead, we need to remember that every creative project is built up like a brick wall of piece after piece, layer after layer, day after day. So I have an exercise for you that you can try, because what I'm describing here may sound straightforward and easy when I talk about it, but it is a skill that we need to cultivate. It is a mindset that we need to explore. So this exercise will help you with that. I want you to choose a creative project that you have abandoned in the past, whether it is a collection of poems, a lino cut plate, whatever it might be. And I want you to get that out and set a timer, let's say 20 minutes. for those 20 minutes, you cannot move on to the next project. There's nothing else to do for those 20 minutes except whatever that next one step is for that abandoned project. Maybe it's adding the next paragraph or sketching the next section or extending the structure, whatever it might be. Don't go to something new. Don't worry about coming up with an idea. And most importantly, don't try to evaluate the quality of what you are looking at now. Instead, what this exercise is doing is helping to train you to look for and to follow through that one next step. Creative masterpieces are the culmination of the next step after the next step after the next step. And in order to do that, in order to show up for our work in that way, we simply need to practice doing it. So let me know in the comments below, what project are you working on now? What project are you showing up for step by step so that you don't fall into that trap that many creatives do? And also, if you haven't already, please do make sure to like and subscribe and send this video on to someone that you think will appreciate it. Because what I've found is that there is never one blocked artist alone. Every blocked artist has that blocked artist friend, that blocked artist partner, that blocked artist child. So share these ideas with those people around you and continue to grow in your creative practice alongside the beautiful community of creatives that you have around you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.